cut you ladies off. I'm sorry. I think we could talk forever about it. Hi, guys.
Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Jonas.
Hi.
Bonus.
So what we're doing here today is in the news. I'm sure that you guys maybe have seen. Oh, hi, Irish Gang, Chris. Hi, Maria. So this was actually Courtney's idea. And because we got this message, I don't know whether or not it's, correct as far as time goes. I do believe that there is a Galactic Federation, don't get me wrong. But this particular message, I don't know. But we figured with it starting tomorrow, according to this message that we got, it's good that we get this information out and we actually talk about it a little bit and give a little bit of information about these particular government officials or retired government officials that are coming out now from Israel and Canada talking about this federation. So Courtney, if you want to take it, honey.
Sure. So about, 4 days ago, Hayam Ashid, 87 years of age, from Israel, came out with claims of extraterrestrial life and that our governments have known about it and in fact worked with them for years, and that there is a Galactic Federation that our governments have contracts with. And I want to put out there that Hayam Ashid is well respected at many universities and in science, and a pretty credited person. He has worked as chief of the space program in Israel for over 30 years. And a lot of news channels are covering this. And I think a lot of people's question is, well, why is it coming out now? And my speculation on that would be he's 87, and not to sound like insensitive, but he really has nothing left to lose at this point. And I feel like the way humanity is going and the world and the earth, that he thinks we should know that we are small pieces in something greater in the universe. And it's just time for us to know about these things, like officially, even though there are a lot of us that do believe and already kind of know these things exist, right? So I also wanted to point out that this year, the Pentagon put together a UFO task force and other weapons, military weapons that can work in space. We know about the EMPs up there already. Now they have new hover tanks. They have laser guns out there. And apparently, according to Hayam Ashid as well, and if I'm saying his name wrong, I apologize, but he claims that our astronauts, US astronauts, also are working on Mars with extraterrestrials in a base inside. And then we have a message later we'll discuss from Corey Good. And yeah, so what do you ladies think about this? I know a lot of us have been kind of receiving messages and filling in blanks and connecting things between each other. And now with this coming out, we're kind of seeing a lot more. So, I mean, what do you ladies think about this?
Well, really quick, in the last live that we did, Lady Blind Wolf was talking about the Great Conjunction, and that made her think of the crystal.
The dark crystal.
Dark crystal. Can you tell us about that, honey? What is that supposed to signify?
The dark crystal is an old, well, Tangi would know because we've had conversations about it. It's an old 80s movie with Jim Henson had done. And this world is created, and there's some chaotic event, which it's not talked about in the movie, where the crystal, which is supposed to be the center of the earth, cracks and a piece falls. And these beings that are one being basically separate into two, one light, one dark. And the dark side basically takes over the planet, and in their power-hungry mess, they basically take this entire race of beings and basically annihilate them and take in the essence of any live being, but especially this particular race. And, to become stronger, to gain power, because it's prophesied if any of these beings live, they're going to fix everything. They're going to, fix the crystal. They're going to unite the planet, and these beings don't want that. So they annihilate this whole entire race of these gelflings. And except for two were saved, and eventually they come and they fix the crystal, and these beings, light and dark, are united, and the planet is basically fixed through these two little beings. And it's supposed to, it's
junction?
Right, but this great solar event it had to happen during this great solar event, which is oddly enough called the Great Conjunction. And I believe the quote was, "What was sundered and undone shall be whole, the two made one."
Duality.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. Thank you for adding that, because I've not seen it. I don't know how many people probably haven't seen it, but that was one I have never seen. So
you haven't seen the Dark Crystal or the Netflix show?
No.
For shame.
Oh, you're missing out.
It has never drew my interest. I'm not a cartoon or animation kind of person.
It's not animated. It's puppets. And there's a YouTube thing where there's been books that have been written, because when you're a kid, you don't think of the spiritual aspect, but all the symbols and things, you'd love it. I mean, even though you're not a kids movie kind of person, but look at it from an adult perspective and all the symbols that are in it. And there's YouTube channels where they're talking more and being more elaborative on how, with duality, like Erie said.
I think that definitely has something to do with what's going on here.
That's
really it's worth a look.
I mean,
I have two words for you, Rachele. Fizz gig. Fizz gig.
We are going to make her a Fizz Gig fan, no matter what we do.
Well, so did you also talk about the Canadian guy that came forward? He actually came forward quite a few years ago.
Well, hell yeah.
I had mentioned it.
2017, I thought.
Yes. And what was he? He was the Canadian
Minister of
Minister of Defense. There you go. And he also said the same thing. But I mean,
he had his friends were channeling entities about it as well, and that it was a race that we haven't really heard of, and that he said a lot of us would be receiving messages at
yeah, which doesn't surprise me. So I'm asking everybody that's in here, do you feel like you've been contacted? So now I'm going to move on over to Tangi.
Hello.
I want to show you guys something. Tangi, explain this picture that you took, honey. These pictures that you took.
Okay, so when I had an old channel, I posted these. Some of you know, some of you don't.
Well, yeah, I've seen those before.
I've been contacted. My mother was contacted. I'm starseed. I've grown up with knowing stuff. I'm used to it. February 2008, my daughter and I went outside on a very cold Canadian winter night, held our breath, took some photos with a digital camera. Couldn't see anything with the naked eye. My daughter went in. We got some great photos. I held my breath and I said, "I'm going inside now. Thank you." Held my breath, lifted the camera up on an angle pointing way above me. I'm only 5'2", so it was like way up here, and took a photo. It's a double flash. So what you're seeing is, I call him Gordon, one of my guardian angels, my alien family member, going, "Ah," when the flash hit him. And so what you're seeing is half of the face of a surprised alien.
If you look at that really close, especially where it's really black and dark, I mean, and I'm partially blind, and it looks like there's two more behind him.
No, there's bushes behind this guy.
Okay.
And then there's a second photo of another being that my daughter
Okay.
took, and he's really tall. I call him Jelly because he looks like jelly. There he is. Rachele just lightened it so you could see. He's like this, he's like turned and he's like, hi, because we were really goofy and we're like, hey, aliens, we want to catch you on film. Can you please pose? So they were very gentle, benevolent, non-threatening. That tree you see in the background was already 8 feet off. Like he's up at the top part. And we were on the deck taking photos out. So he's either really, really, really tall or was floating in midair. And I love them. I've always known they're there. And that was nice to have proof. My daughter freaked out and couldn't handle it, but I love it.
What's interesting when you mentioned the jelly, I remember watching on Cause Exposure when Emery Smith claimed to be working on certain extraterrestrials, how some of them, because he worked in their biology, were very like gelatin.
Yeah. And that's what I got from that taller being. They're both tall, but I call Jelly the tall being, like a jellyfish. And Gordon, who's like my typical, Paul type of guy. He's like my angel on my left side. He's, more solid and more typical tall. He's not a gray. He's green. But he's more like he's got a helmet on, and those lenses to me it could be a suit that he's wearing.
You are currently, Courtney, you're currently writing or have written an entire book as of the last month or so. Can you explain how that even came about? Because they've talked about how people are channeling these things right now, right?
Right. Yeah. Some of my subscribers mentioned, hey, because I had told them one of my passions were writing, always had been. Some of them were like, well, hey, I'd really like to hear you audio, read some of your stuff. So it originally started as a story I wanted to create about, cultural and just a fictional fantasy. And then it quickly turned into, as I sat down writing it, I remember getting the first chapter out, and then everything started coming to me. And it was flowing in so fast, and it was like I was compelled to sit there and write it for the reason they gave me, to kind of plant them seeds into people, get them wondering, get them reading it in a fun way, but also like a soft disclose type of deal. And so the messages kept pouring through, and I can only imagine what I looked like typing it, because I'm going, oh, really? Talking to myself, and I'm like, oh, so that really operates seriously? Wow, okay. And I just could not stop. It was like I had to get it out there. And I'm talking from secrets of our true history, our creation, things in the universe, even going back to what Lady Blindwolf said with the dark crystals about the eating life forces and stuff. I've heard there's messages in the book about that. Our DNA fingerprint, that these fingerprints are 3D world fingerprint, but our DNA actually has information of every life we've lived, every life we're gonna live, activation with abilities, magic, lineage, frequency, all kinds of stuff. I could go on and on about it all night, but it turned into a story of a girl moving over to a different country for a secret society, which was going to be the plot anyway. But that secret society ended up those who had intel on extraterrestrial or higher dimensional beings, and then the group's protagonists being starseeds and things going on in the universe. And a lot of the things that the characters go through I was told to put in there, like rise to conflict with them doing this, and this is how they have to figure it out. And they told me make the overall message unity. Put them through a bunch of trials. They feel betrayed by each other. They're mad. They're heated. Things are chaotic. But how can you make them work through all these trivial things for something greater and unified?
I think that is the true message right there.
Yes.
Some people need to see it in different ways in order for it to register. I think that's why we've got people that are being contacted and doing things in different manners, right? Because everyone's perspective might not resonate with everyone else. So we're all like pieces of the puzzle. I really feel like that. Ponus says, yes. Wait a minute. No, it's going too fast. I can't see it, but they were talking about dreams. And has anyone else been having strange dreams? Yeah, really?
Not in a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not in a while.
Rachele and I actually just did a podcast about that. If you want to go over and check that out on her Facebook page. And it kind of linked into a lot of this as well. We talked about completing each other's experiences we had or messages.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. It's well.
I
mean,
knew that was going to happen.
like the Akashic records and how many that even came up in the Blade movie, talking about the Akashic records.
Yeah.
Lady Knight of Avalon says, Jelly reminds me of the white light being in Avatar Airbender, where the light has to fight dark, and these fights always happen during a solstice of an astronomical event. I think the thing that kind of started off this whole thing for me was I was creating that podcast, and I had this idea of what this great conjunction was going to do, with Saturn being the one that is like doing this frequency that has to do with our like matrix or like our karmic cycle, whatever that system that's being held in place. With Jupiter being closer to us, it's going to move in front of Saturn completely at one point and block out that frequency. So what does that mean for us? And that is on the 21st.
They called it the Christmas star. So it makes you wonder, when the wise men were looking up, was it an actual star they were seeing, or was it this great conjunction?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what I read, and you got to understand, all the information I'm getting just from different sources where I've read things. That doesn't mean I know 100% that that's the case. I'm not out there measuring it myself, but that might be kind of difficult. But it said in this article that I read, it was like 0.1% difference how close they were. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be that close actually, because if that was the case, they would probably crash into each other's gravitational pull. But from our perspective on Earth, Jupiter, which is much larger than Saturn, is going to be in front of it because Jupiter is closer to us. So it's going to be like this when we look at it. So does that mean that the matrix is going to come down a little bit? Because I know every one of you has probably noticed how the matrix is like different.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you see like the little waves and you see like the little curly cues in the air and stuff like that. Yeah.
Particles. I see particles all the time.
Particles. There you go. Yes.
Long ago, I had seen like sparks, and I thought it was just my eyes, but they were so big. And I remember looking at my son, like, I see these sparks. And then he was like, well, I see them too. And I'm like, oh, so that's not just like a trick of my eyes.
No, the energy field, the particles, ions, the whatever you call them. There's a Sesame Street song about it, I'm sure. But yeah.
That's funny. So we were talking, we have this like group. There's like 5 or so of us. And we were talking about a particular site that Lady Knight of Avalon, Maria, had talked about, called Deagle or something like that. And this particular site was showing that in 2025, and this is like a military site or something like that, in 2025, that the population of even like the United States of America is going to be like 65 million. That's what they're projecting. Instead of, I'm definitely hearing this, issue.
Okay, with COVID, some people are going to have to be doing some major to get it up that high, because hasn't our population dropped due to COVID?
Yeah, but nothing like that, honey. I mean, the United States of America is 50 million people, and they're saying 65 million people are going to be left by 2025. That's their projection. So I just found that really interesting. So as we were talking, Carla posted this particular link into our chat that had to do from this. I don't even want to say the group, because I mean, I don't know if I should, but it is an actual message that's supposed to be from the Galactic Federation. I would like to read it to you guys and then see if I can get your responses and what you think is, because this is supposed to start tomorrow. That's why we're doing this live today. Okay.
Before you do that, can you just mention a quick little message I know they want people to know?
Yes.
Because this was in my book as well. I asked, why can't we just disclose this? Why can't we just see you guys? You know, because so many people want proof. But if you think about it realistically, they have to do this slowly and through messages like this, or else we're going to get a shock, a panic. That's just a natural reaction to humanity. So I just felt a strong need to have to say that.
Well, I mean, we've been getting soft disclosure for lots of years. Do you remember The V in the 80s, that series?
Yeah.
I mean, the
It's a good show.
4400, that's another one. There's just
Elf?
so many, it's ridiculous.
There was the Powers of Matthew Starr, I remember. That was in the 80s. And then there was one about 4 or 5 years ago where aliens had came down and they were integrating this alien race into society. It's Star something. Star Children, or I forget what it was
Remember
called.
They Live with Roddy Piper?
Yeah.
Where he put on the glasses and it showed a frequency and it showed what they really looked like. Okay, so here's the message. This is for those who resonate with this message. I understand there will be some who don't, and that's okay. We will all know soon enough. Also, this message is not from me, but from someone else in another channel. I'm just a messenger, as is most of us. Message, 3 days of darkness. Message from the Galactic Federation of Andromeda regarding the solar flash. Dear readers, in this message, we will explain the most important signs that you need to keep in mind regarding the solar flash event. It is vitally important for you to understand that these are unprecedented times when many special dispensations are in effect. You have to understand that things that are about to begin and calm your mind to enter the fifth dimension. We of the Federation have explained to you everything about our spheres, especially the one where you will be taken with all of the details that sphere has. The sphere will have just that we have described to you is the sphere which will come out first. The sphere will approach the earth to act as a shield and protect the earth and its inhabitants when the sun makes its maximum solar eruption. The sphere, which is 5 times larger than the earth, will be placed in front of the planet Earth so that the planet is not hit in full with catastrophic consequences. All of this will happen in collaboration with Nibiru, who belongs to the Galactic Federation of Andromeda, and due to this protection shield, the earth will be darkened. It will be a great forced eclipse, and it is for this reason that there will be the 3 days of darkness. We repeat, there is no need to fear because the great sphere of the Galactic Federation of Andromeda will act as a shield. For this reason, we urge you in these days of darkness to stay home, safe, and you do not have to go out. This is because many people who do not know what is going on will go into panic, trauma, and madness. This is one of the reasons. The second, and why in these 72 hours or 3 days, the photonic energies which the earth will receive together with you is the necessary energy that will change your consciousness and will begin the process also in your body made of carbon with silicone structure. This changes the obstacle which you must face calmly and serenely. The photonic energy will have an electric shock effect on you that will cross the whole body, always according to the sensitivity of each one. For this reason, it will be necessary to remove all the metal objects that you often wear because they act as conductors of this electric current and they amplify it, bringing greater discomfort. So like your jewelry. We advise you in these days and in the days to come not to eat too much, but drink pure water, no red meat. The effect of this photonic energy that you will receive is strong. In those hours, you will enter the fifth dimension, but you will not be alone in facing this moment. Excuse me. During the transition period from one great age to another, the cosmic law allows beings of the angelic realm and the spiritual hierarchy to pass through the veil and make contact with awakened members of the human race. These benevolent beings strive to get your attention by intensifying the light in your solar energy center and ultimately in your sacred heart. The first notice will be given on December 14th, which is tomorrow. The beings of light and the angels will be with you, close until you enter the fifth dimension. At that moment, you will be conscious to enter the new age of the aquarium, the new dimension. Only when you begin to see that outside your homes there will be no more darkness and everything is quiet, you can leave the house, not before, and make sure that everything is calm and serene. You are 8 billion people on planet Earth, and not all are the same. And they're solely sorry. And not all have followed the right advice. Not all have dedicated themselves to awakening, and not all have listened to their heart and conscience. In the meantime, we of the Federation must take responsibility for the criminals who are on Earth and those who have not understood what is happening. These people will go through a deep trauma, and we will have to collect them all in different areas of the planet and take them to the hospital spheres. Dear, you must imagine and have compassion for these millions of people who have not listened and followed the right path and who will find themselves in a situation that they will not understand and will panic. But in the hospital spheres, we have staff already prepared for this type of patients. We are organized. For those who are in the houses, when the great sphere of the Federation moves away from the sun, you will see a very strong and intense light emanating from the sun. Then you can go outside. When you come out, everything, and it's almost over, I know it's really long, everything will be changed. You will see the sky in another way. The sky will be full of spaceships and motherships. There will be Sirian, Arcturian, Palladian, and those of the Andromeda Galactic Federation, the larger ships of this galaxy. There will be millions of small space shuttles that will welcome you when you come out of your homes. You will be transported in the motherships, which will take you to the sphere assigned to you, as we have described to you in our previous messages. This is the divine plan of the Andromeda Galactic Federation in cooperation with the Galactic Federation of Light and the Light Workers and all other races. Do not forget our explanations on the spiritual event. Do not get I'm getting tongue-tied. Do not get bombarded with other messages. You would just be confused and you will not know how to choose the right path to go, and you will find yourself in difficulty with yourself. This is our last message from the Andromeda Galactic Federation. Try to be calm and conscious and vibrate high until the last moment that you enter the fifth dimension. This is very important for both you and us who receive your thoughts of vibration emanating from your hearts. We all hear you, and you are all encoded by the Federation, especially those who vibrate in the heart rate. A big heartfelt hug from all of us of the Andromeda Galactic Federation. So let's get your thoughts, ladies. And let's get your thoughts, everyone there.
We did have some people asking what the Galactic Federation was. So, I mean, my understanding isn't that different. I didn't really research it.
Oh,
Do one of you know? I think it's, to my understanding, different alien races that have come together and formed like a council type of thing for the universe and the betterment of it and the evolution of it.
Yes.
That's how I understand it.
Sirian, Arcturian, Palladian, and those of the Andromeda Galactic Federation is what it's saying. So a group of beings. Do you remember we had talked about a few weeks ago that one of the things that I had watched, they had said that, oh, it was Initiation on the Gaia channel, that they had talked about how when we were doing the starseed thing, that many different types, alien types, ended up going to this one place. This one place. And they were doing it in order to try to help like some sort of portal, remember? But they had all joined in together. So like
to protect it against the malevolent, right?
So I'm thinking it's something along the lines of that. So Tangi said she had to pee. She'll be right back. That's what happens.
Interesting. And I mean, about the Galactic Federation, you know, I just want to add in there that in the book, I did get messages about like the elders or like a higher council of different races that come together as well. So kind of like the same correlations there. It's interesting.
So what are your thoughts about this particular event that they're talking about?
I think it's possible. And I'm kind of excited. I would be probably disappointed if it did not happen. That is where I stand with it. Even my kids were like, I hope it happens, man. Like we're ready for this. To me, the positivity in that would be we would realize that our trivial battles we have against each other on our planet, we would realize we're more than that. You know, there's way more out there. Why are we fighting amongst ourselves? Why are we doing all this stuff? It gives us that bigger and broader outlook or purpose. You know what I mean? I think overall something like that could help humanity more than it would hurt them.
Sis, what do you think? What do you think about this message?
From what I understand and little tidbits of stuff that comes across my Facebook, especially NASA has given a lot of disclosure over the last year about aliens and about the solar flares on the sun. And it does coincide with a big solar flare that is, or they're predicting one for December 21st. So, and I mean, I don't know much about what happens if there is a huge one like they are predicting. So whether this could come true or not, again, is anybody's good guess. I hope to see something because, it's almost like I know something's going to happen. And it's almost like a validation for the way you feel, just to get something that the world sees, also instead of just yourself. So yeah. I hope for something, and I definitely agree with what you say, Courtney, because with all the pandemic and the political crap, what is most important is all of us uniting.
Right.
Even if it's something a little bit different, the message is still the same, and that is love.
Yes.
Be united.
What do you think, Tangi? I mean, obviously you are in touch with these beings all the time. They're probably whispering in your ear at this very moment.
Touching my leg. They're touching my leg going, don't forget to stretch because you're in a weird hunched position. Okay. Well, I speak for me, only for me. I've been in touch with them my whole life. Before I came here, they prepared me. So I do want to point out, last year, November 1st, 2019, I saw, from what I can remember, because my short-term memory is, I saw 3 members of the Galactic Federation from my division, the Andromeda sector, or whatever you want to call it. I came up the stairs. And peripherally, I could see my huge big bay window in my living room. And as I was coming up, you kind of come up, you kind of see it anyway. So it was like a look and a peripheral. And I saw the three beings in front of my window. The female who had like, it's burned in my memory. She had like a triangular face. She looked human, but not. And the two men with her on either side of her, one was like a lookout and the other one was kind of going back and forth. Well, she was in the window going like, hi, we're here. And they had uniforms on. And I knew right away they were Federation. And so that was the first time that I'm conscious of and that I can remember that I saw them in this dimension, in my world, in my realm. Members, like they were obviously to me, they weren't band members, they were galactic members. And so it was validation because I believe, but I like proof. Right? Also, just for my senses, it's like, you know, it helps to put a face to a voice kind of thing. And so seeing them just solidified everything. And it reminds me too, oh yeah, it's all real. Okay. I'm not completely loopy. And then I just go out about my business, but it's normal for me. Like you would say hi to your neighbor as you're going out to work or whatever. I'm like, you know, hey, Gordon, hey, aliens, hey, Riker. They're always around me. I've always known them prior to this life. So it's like you always know the taste of chocolate. But if you try to explain that to a person in a tribe across the other part of the world, if they don't experience it for themselves, how do you describe that? Mm-hmm. Chocolate's great. Okay, it's great. But unless they have chocolate themselves, how are they going to know that experience?
Exactly. Welcome back, sis. So, Lady Blind Wolf, what do you
I want chocolate.
We all want chocolate.
Sorry.
I have a few questions first. First thing I want to know is if we're all five of us are supposed to be these different star seeds, once we're sent to our spheres, does that mean we don't get to communicate with each other again? That's my first question. And I've been watching a lot of tarot readings where it's been talking, and I don't know how many readers I've heard this, talking about Geminis needing to do healing. That's the next thing that I think of. And then Courtney and I were talking since the pandemic about how thin the veil has been anyway due to the pandemic. And after sound when it's supposed to close, and it's been open for a while now. And so maybe this is in preparation for what's coming.
For me, I don't know whether or not I believe that this is what's going to happen. This was just a message that I wanted to make sure that everybody heard, because if it does happen, and I'm not saying it is going to happen, but at least people know at least some sort of information, not to panic, you know. But I will tell you, I did hear this years ago, a conspiracy just like this. I mean, literally just like this, where once they say that there's an invasion, that's when the governments come in and start taking people. And they're using it as a cover. So I'm always just skeptical about everything. But information is power, right? So I wanted to make sure that everybody at least heard this message. You know, there are, I think Denise had asked about, do you know where we can see some of these videos? I put a few videos down below in the description where you can look and see. It's all over the news about these government officials coming forward and saying that this is true. I mean, think about it. Even without Trump saying that it was true, he created a space force. Hello, why would he do that, right?
And sink billions into weaponry for space.
Exactly. There's a reason for it.
If you're talking about the declassified, I actually searched them on Google on like .gov websites. So they are available there. And there are some good, of course, always check the sources in the description of YouTube videos. But some YouTubers have actually put like the NASA or the military declassified videos on YouTube.
Does anyone have anything that they want to add?
Well, obviously we've had contact. I mean, look at what the Egyptians. I mean, and they didn't exactly look right, you know. I mean, and it's and look at how, in a lot of ways, how advanced they were. And then you have to think, well, okay, if the government's coming to get people, and here everyone with any kind of ability has been feeling this stuff for a while now, even before we actually knew for certain about the pandemic. And then, you know, is it that I don't think the pandemic did what they wanted it to do. I think it got out of control, and it created something that they didn't want to happen. So here's everybody with these abilities, and you got to wonder, are they going to want to shut us all up because they don't want us talking? I mean, I don't trust the government at all, but that's just me.
I don't either, but I don't trust any governments, period. But that's probably a personal issue. But I will say that I did have a dream, and we talked about this particular dream. I told my sister about it months ago when I had it, looking out the window and seeing what I thought was a tornado coming. And then when it got closer, small spaceships started breaking off of it and going to individual houses, just like this message is talking about. And I had that dream months ago. So do think there's something to it. I do.
You got to wonder, though, with all of this interest in twin flame and twin flame activation, if that doesn't have something to do with it either.
Oh, I believe it is, because Chris and I are twin flames, and we've both recently been activated. And what I mean by activated in my dream, and like starting to awaken to these things, messages, seeing through the matrix, seeing through illusions more clear. Have you noticed in recent months, you can kind of look at something and go, okay, yeah, that ain't real, where before it might have been difficult to distinguish. Plus other abilities and stuff. But yeah, I definitely think that we have missions that we have to do and help each other evolve, which the question for me really isn't do they exist or not. It's what do we do with this information? Where do we go with this? And I feel like it's important to have unconditional love for your fellow human. And that there are many perspectives in this reality. Yours is not the only one. And together we can evolve through this and discover life's purpose and our purpose in the universe if we had the chance to do that. It will be a big collective effort.
Yeah, because not everything is as it appears to be.
Right.
Especially everything that we have been taught before we were awakened. Once you are awakened, everything was like, wow, okay. Religion
The
is
conditioning.
one of the ones.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think it's still happening. I don't think any of us are completely awake. I think it has begun.
right.
Which
But
reminds me, they wanted me to tell you this before I came on today. 4 stages: non-believer, transitioner, believer, understander. They said tell her that, and so I did. Done. But that's what
can
you
say
go
that
through.
one more time for us, honey?
Non-believer, transitioner, believer, understander. So you go through your phases. You're a non-believer, skeptic, back. Then you transition. That kind of makes sense. And I've seen a lot of stuff. Maybe I should open my mind and maybe I should investigate this. And then you become a believer. Once you're a believer, you're open and everything at its time is revealed to you, and then you are an understander. Because believing and seeing something doesn't mean you understand it and how to implement it. It's like having knowledge, but using that knowledge the right way is wisdom. So once you've achieved the understander, you can then you've reached that apex of being woke, you know, how to use the information and what you've learned. Because you could believe all you want, but if you don't know what to do with that believing, you're not going to understand how to implement. And that's the message they wanted me to tell you before I came on.
That message reminds me of my Odin message in a way.
Yes.
It makes you wonder, though, with all of these societies that just disappeared off the face of the earth and no one can figure out why. And
Yep.
then all that stuff I found out about Knights Templar that I sent to Courtney and Rachele. And it talks about all this knowledge that these knights hid. And then, you know, after they were supposedly, you know, just massacred and done with, that some survived and formed all these secret societies like the Hellfire Club and the Freemasons and stuff like that. I mean, I was talking to Courtney about, I was staying at a house, and the house next door, the guy had built it, and I guess he was a Freemason, and Rachele and Courtney have pictures of that gate. So it just makes you wonder.
Somebody had asked, when does this 3 days begin? Let me just say really quick. This is something that they have been talking about for 6 months, sis, about the 3 days of darkness.
Yeah.
Which means like no communication, no internet, no nothing like that. And they were using it saying that this is when they're going to be taking the deep state down. Remember? So now it seems like it's almost morphed a little bit into it's going to be taken down because maybe the solar flare is going to cause things to go down, almost like magnetic something or other, which makes more sense to me. And so according to this message, and I'm not saying I necessarily believe this message, but according to this message, it's going to start tomorrow.
And,
during the solar eclipse tomorrow.
and if it doesn't, I mean, we still have till 2024, according to some sources I researched.
Also, 2012, I had my visit dream. I've mentioned on my channel before that this year, 2020, between December 19th and December 22nd, depending on the time zone where you are, 21st for Canada, 22nd for Australia. Between that is a huge southwest epic hot event, a fire age. So it's either the solar flares, it could be fires, it could be civil war, it could be a crash, asteroids. There's a lot of comets and things and meteoroids coming to the astral belt. It could be a combination of things. Could be the volcano, the caldera, seeing activity. But between December 19th and December 22nd, be prepared is what I've always told people. Just be aware, be prepared, don't panic. If there's an earthquake and if there's a volcano, just be prepared. And I would rather be prepared. It's like that saying, what is it? Right. Condom or a gun, it's better to have it and not need it. Right? I would rather be prepared for ash or solar flares or meteorites or plane crash or war, whatever. Mindset, physical emergency stuff. I'd rather physically be prepared for it and then nothing happens, or, whatever happens, you're already ready. Yeah.
So what are ways that we can prepare, honey? Like having certain kinds of like dried foods in your house, water.
Stock up. Okay. I knew I speak for me. I knew 2020 was going to help us transition into something bigger because we've already now most of us stocked up on things, gotten masks, gotten gloves, gotten first aid supplies, stocked up on batteries, food, whatever. We've set in our minds hibernation, stuck at home, isolation. It's propelled us. For example, if there was going to be a big event in 2020 didn't happen, you would have went from la la la, I'm having my latte, to solar flares and earthquakes. There would have been no transition, preparedness in between. What's happened with pandemic is the light side of that is that it's helped us to prepare physically, mindset, emotionally, spiritually, get ready so that if something bigger were to happen, you've already you've already gone into a transition, so to speak. It won't be such a shock.
I mean, I hear people saying about like disclosure. Why can't they just come out and tell us? Really?
It has been, though. There has been. If you do research,
Right. But if they came out,
and
if the government really totally came out and said, guess what? There's aliens. We've made an agreement with them. How many people would panic and go buy all the toilet paper again? You know, and
it's already started. People have already started hoarding. You go to the store, and people have already started that. I mean, people went nuts.
Well, here's the thing. Two things. One, preppers have known for years. I've always had the prepper mentality. We've known for years, whatever, we're just going to get ready just in case. And two, aliens have been around forever, since before man. It's in paintings, it's in folklore. They've always been around, This is not new. If you really stop and think about it, even if you're a non-believer, this is not new, that governments and galactic and aliens and fae and trees talking, whatever, it's all real. It's all real. And we just see what we want to see. What's that saying? If you don't believe in magic, you will never see it.
Right.
So it's just because society's conditioned you, most of people, not everyone, conditioned you to see things one way and block out the obvious. Don't look behind the secret curtain. Don't look at the wizard behind the curtain. Focus on the yellow brick road. So where are you in your 4 stages of awareness, right? And where do you want to be? Do you want to be open, and do you want to be prepared? Or do you want to be stuck in, nope, I don't believe, and I'm going to stay in my matrix bubble. I am not taking the red pill or the blue pill. I'm not taking any pills. I'm just going to keep having my blinders on, right?
Exactly.
So something's coming, be prepared. And don't panic. Talk to your guides, talk to your team, write everything down, talk to your friends, find some support. Don't panic.
Yep.
There's really no reason to.
Right.
Yeah, because they're not gonna. If you owned a planet, would you want to blow it up and destroy it? No, you'd want to transition to go well. If you were here to help, if you were here to enlighten, you would want the transition to go well. You're not going to just start, War of the Worlds, blowing stuff up, because then you're causing chaos, and chaos causes stagnation and prevents them from achieving their goal, which is integration with us having a bigger goal. So, if you're a really good manager of a restaurant or business, you're going to make sure your employees and your staff are very happy and amalgamate together, right? You're not going to cause chaos for one or the other. You're going to want them to work together in harmony. So there's no reason to panic. That's what I'm saying.
What were you going to say, Courtney? I could see that you were trying to get something in there.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
How to get it out, I'll forget.
I was like as hell because I was going to say the same exact thing pretty much. So I was like, yeah.
Yes. We're all the same way, Tangi. If we don't get it out, we forget.
Right? What was the question?
Exactly.
Where am I again?
Exactly. So does anyone have anything to add?
Nope.
Stock up on chocolate.
And cigarettes.
Right. Be prepared for the new way. I mean, imagine 500 years ago, okay? And people said, or back in the Renaissance to Da Vinci, or I mean, not him because he knew. Marie Antoinette or whomever, in the future, we're going to have cars and we're going to have lattes and we're going to have iPads and we're going to have like makeup virtual things. And she'd be like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? No. That's not how life's going to be. It changes. It has to evolve. And there's moments in time where it's either trickling events or there's big events that propel it forward. We are all very lucky to be in this time of change, and we can embrace it and help each other through it, or we can panic and cause chaos. The choice is yours.
If we'd have talked like that 500 years ago, we'd have already been burned at the stake for heresy.
Right? Like if you said, bitch, please, I am not dealing with you right now. Back in, Henry VIII, forget it. Head off. Right? There's advancement all the time.
I was going to add there, maybe the event too, because the way I was kind of looking at it is not an event that maybe everyone will see, but however, since our mind projects our reality, if people don't believe in that or want to grow, learn, or evolve, they're just like, nope, perhaps they may not even experience it. Perhaps it's the ones looking for it or open to it that will also.
That's going to be our opportunity to evolve spiritually.
Right.
And to be more in tune. Those of us that aren't as advanced, like myself, will come along to your level or Tangi's level.
But what does that look like for them? All of a sudden, do the people that end up going into the 5D just disappear? Like some of these shows that have shown that, where all of a sudden a whole bunch of people in the world, all around the world, just disappear? Because if you're going into the fifth dimension, you would be in a different frequency. Just like the people that are in higher frequencies can see us, can communicate with us. We just can't easily communicate with them. Not all of us can.
You have to wonder if that's not already started, because it's been all over the place about the Indigenous and First Nations women that are disappearing left and right. That makes you wonder.
Yeah, a lot of it's bad. But
bad
human men and people.
But
there's other, like with the what's called the 400 the missing 411, the forest. The people are just walking on a path. You turn around, hey buddy, where's the campsite? And the guy's gone. And you can even hear him, but you can't see him. And then these staircases that are appearing in forests and all these weird things happening.
Monolith.
Ready. The monoliths, yeah.
Extra.
I mean, we've all been slowly digesting it. The movies really help. The shows really help. Ancient Aliens.
The guy in
movies, E.T. When I saw E.T. when I was little, it was like I hated men. I hated government. How could you do this to E.T. and little Elliot? Why don't you just leave them alone? He just wants to go back to his ship. You're so evil. I hate you.
I tried. I think an old yeller, like seriously,
right.
In the machine and stuff.
Yeah.
I have literally
I'm
turned
looking
the
forward to it.
notifications
I'm
off,
excited.
turned it down, and it's still giving me notifications. What is going on?
Your spaceship is calling you, Rachele.
My spaceship is calling me.
Well, I'm on a hotspot, so my signal's wonky anyway. So
yeah. Well, I think that we pretty much covered everything. We wanted to just put that out there for you guys, let you know what the message was. Do with it what you will. If it happens, we're not saying it's going to happen, but if it does happen, just think about this, and just remain calm and be about the love.
Right.
So thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.